year alone, we took in over 200 animals. Many of these animals, when they come to us, they are severely compromised. They're extremely dehydrated. They are literally going on. They're the last of what they have left. This is an unpaid profession that requires high skill and a lot of time, a lot of resources. We don't receive any state or federal funding. Those resources come from donations or out of our own pocket. This truly is a service that we do for the wildlife and for the people in our community. Getting our animals back out into the wild is extremely important. They all have a very valuable role to play, whether that be an opossum as being part of nature's cleanup crew, or whether that be a squirrel that's planting some extra trees by forgetting where its nuts are buried. Wild at Heart came to be when we realized that our community was in need of a local resource for wildlife rehabilitation. Together with my husband, we founded Wild at Heart in 2018 so that us and other local rehabbers could work together to provide the best care for our wildlife. We are a wildlife rehabilitation organization. Wildlife rehabilitation is the process of caring for injured, ill, or orphaned animals with the goal of releasing them back into the wild. Our mission is to reduce the adverse impact of human-wildlife conflict through wildlife rehabilitation, as well as bringing light to the benefit, the positive role that our wildlife plays in our environment. To me, wildlife rehabilitation is really a privilege. It's an honor to be able to do what we do. It's so important to me to help the animals and to help the people that found the animals. A lot of times I think that people, when they find an animal, they're upset, or they're fearful, or they're scared, or they feel so compassionate toward that animal, and they want to find it help. Even at the end of a long day, even after caring for animals for 14, 16 hours a day, when I get up at 3 a.m. for a feeding and I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I see the little animals' faces, it still makes me smile, and that's how I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Wild at Heart is really a team of people. It's myself. We have an education and outreach specialist, Nicole Hafer. She's also a longtime local wildlife rehabilitator.
I've been doing this for 30 years. So a lot of animals. When I was a teenager, my first job was at the Dayton Museum of Natural History. They had live animals, and at my job I took care of the captive wild animals. And people would bring in orphaned wildlife, and I just started taking them home. Then when I was in college, I volunteered at a wildlife rehabilitation center. Well, I love animals, which is why everybody is a wildlife rehabilitator. But I also think it's important that wild animals that we have that come to us are ambassadors for their wild cousin. I think one of the big reasons that I still do rehab, not just for the animals, is because it gives me the opportunity to educate people, to help them understand how important wildlife is and how unique these animals are and what we can do to help them. And then when they do have an issue with them, we can help them resolve that issue humanely.
First thing that you should do if you find an injured or orphaned animal in need of help is to contact a licensed wildlife rehabilitator. Getting the animal to us quickly saves the most lives. Taking the time to research formulas and things like that on the internet just delay that animal getting the help that it needs, and it can be the difference between life and death. So if you want to help, the best thing to do is to get it straight to us. When we admit an animal, the first thing we do is called an intake exam. That's just our way of assessing what injury or issues that animal may be having that brought it into care. After we do that, our next step is to stabilize that animal. So that's to provide fluids, to give it any pain medication if need be. If it has an injury, treat that wound, start it on antibiotics potentially based on our protocols. So That's the first step. After that, their time and care, if it's an orphan, it's just growing and developing. We try our very best. We're not as good as wild moms, but we do try our very best to provide them with situations that they may encounter out in the wild, teaching them how to forage, teaching them how to hunt, things like that that they're going to need out in the wild. If it's an injured animal that comes in, it may be providing some sort of physical type therapy, providing them with wheels to run in so they get reconditioned so that when they go back out in the wild, they're 100%. Unlike our domestic animals that get injured or may have an illness, we need our wild animals to be 100% to go back out into the wild to have the best chance of survival. To me, every cool moment is a release. When you take an animal that has been in need and be able to release that animal back into the wild and truly give it a second chance at life, that's a cool moment. That's a great thing. We had a case last year of 7 opossums that were found. A couple was walking along a road, taking their evening walk, and they came upon a trash bag. They weren't sure what to do at first, but the husband knew that they couldn't walk away without opening the trash bag. When they opened the trash bag, they found an adult female opossum that had been shot. Unfortunately, she also had 7 joeys with her. So that's 7 young baby opossums that were still in her pouch. The couple immediately reached out to us. I will never forget the call. They were just both very upset, and they were very happy that they found us to take in the opossums for care. They arrived, surprisingly, they were pretty healthy. They were definitely cold and dehydrated. We get them warmed up, assess them for any injuries, which thankfully none of them had. Just provided them with fluids to get them stabilized. In wildlife rehabilitation, I think that's one of the things that we do most often that helps these animals survive, is just getting them warm and getting them fluids, particularly with our opossums. Then their time here was just to grow and to develop and learn how to be opossums. Last year we had 148 opossums. So one reason for that is opossums have a decently sized litter. They give birth about 11 days after conception. The little ones are only about the size of a jelly bean or a small bee when they're born. They have these super developed forelimbs that allow them to climb up to the pouch where they latch on to a teat and further develop. Because they're only born 11 days after conception, they're still considered embryos at that point. They're even breathing through their skin when they're first born because their lungs aren't developed enough. So they climb into that pouch where they continue to develop, and when they're about 2 months old after birth, they're then the same developmentally staged as a newborn puppy or kitten. Our opossums are omnivores, and they are also scavengers, so they eat a little bit of everything. We have kind of a base diet that we feed them, and then off of that we feed them a variety of fruits and vegetables, fresh greens. We pick greens and clover from the wild and bring it into them. Insects are a big one. Insects are really fun for them when they're young, and it teaches them the valuable skill of hunting. And we obviously can't replace what a wild parent would do for them, but we do the best that we can to provide them with those skills. Here at Wild at Heart, we have 2 education animals currently. We have 2 education opossums. They were both born without any eyes, so they are completely blind. They both have a calm, gentle demeanor and low stress levels, so that indicated to us that they would be a good choice for education animals. We also have an education skunk, Cricket, who is with our education and outreach specialist, Nicole. An education animal, or education ambassador as we call them, is an animal that has an injury and is not able to be released out into the wild, but has the personality or demeanor that would make it a good ambassador animal to go out and to teach people about wildlife. So our education animals serve a wonderful purpose. It's a great opportunity to let our community see some wild animals firsthand up close. It's also an opportunity to dispel fears. Sometimes they have only seen an opossum, let's say, from a distance, and all they think about are, scary teeth and a hissing opossum and a big scaly tail. But when they see them up close, they can see that they're actually just shy, gentle creatures that play a great role in our ecosystem. We had a case last year where a gentleman brought us an injured bat. On intake, we determined that the bat was in fact pregnant. Pregnancy can be difficult in rehabilitation for any mammal. If they feel very stressed, they can not have a successful pregnancy. They can abort the pregnancy sometimes, or they do give birth, they may not produce the milk that they need to produce, or they may not care for their young. And that's just not normal, right? Because our wild mothers are great moms. They want to take care of their babies. They want those wild offspring to survive and succeed. So it's just the stress in a rehabilitation situation that can cause problems sometimes. She gave birth to 2 healthy twins, a male and a female. She was an amazing mother. They lived to be successfully released in the fall. The mother bat, it was a big brown bat. She came in with an injury to her wrist. At the time, she could not fly well and definitely had an injury, so we treated her with some pain medications and antibiotics that were appropriate for a pregnant female bat and just gave her time to recover. During that time is when she gave birth to the 2 young bats. It is a very stressful situation for them, so it's not always successful. So the fact that we did have a successful pregnancy and birth of 2 healthy twins here let us know that we were doing the right things and giving her space, giving her good nutrition, giving her privacy, and keeping her stress levels low. Enrichment is fun, so that's where we really get to have a lot of fun with our animals. Some of the things that we do are scent enrichment, so we take different items, we'll rub them with different scents such as vanilla or orange. We put that in balls and put them throughout their enclosures so they can sniff them out and smell them, and it just gives their brain something else to do, something else to think about. It's a unique smell or scent that provides enrichment to them. We hide food around their enclosures. We provide them with unique foods that they may not necessarily eat, but that are interesting to them, that they're going to sniff or smell or chew on, that's providing enrichment to them. We use Kongs a lot, so the dog toy Kongs, we stuff a variety of foods in there, and just like a dog, it's kind of enriching their mind. It's like a puzzle to try to get that little bit of food out. As I mentioned before, insects is a big one. For our skunks, for our opossums, for our foxes, we take small containers or even little kiddie pools, and we'll fill that with leaves and mulch, and then put a variety of insects in there, mealworms, dubia roaches, crickets, things for them to hunt. So that's not only enriching for them, but it's also teaching them how to hunt and forage. So we do a lot of that as well. Flying bats is so much fun. It's getting them out there and letting them literally stretch their wings. It's important for baby bats when they're young to learn how to fly. The mother bat actually does flap her wings and encourage them to fly as well. They actually start flying sometimes at a very young age, depending on the species. Between 4 and 6 weeks old is when they start to flap those wings and be able to fly. Flying them gives the baby bats practice. It allows them to develop endurance and strengthen those wing muscles. And then for our injured bats that come in, it's a reconditioning, just like a human that would be recovering from a serious injury and would have to have rehabilitation therapy to walk again. They need that same thing to be able to fly again. And flight is incredibly important to bats because they eat in the air, they eat on the wing. So them being successfully able to fly is how they're going to feed and eat. This summer we admitted a young juvenile fox. She was hit by a car. A gentleman came upon her not long after she was hit, scooped her up out of the road. He did take her to a few different veterinarians who were unsure if they were able to treat her or not. So he eventually found us and reached out to us and was able to bring her here for treatment. Upon intake, she was pretty unresponsive. She was in pretty bad shape, and although We are trained highly to do quite a bit here. We do work with a veterinarian for these really tough and extreme cases that we get, and so she immediately was loaded up and went to our veterinarian's office. She had massive head trauma, a traumatic brain injury. So to look at this fox on the outside, you wouldn't necessarily know that she had head trauma, but based on the signs that we were seeing, based on her eye movements and things like that, we knew that she was experiencing something pretty severe. We loaded her up and got her to our vet right away. The first 3 days she spent with our veterinarian. She received pretty heavy pain medication, fluids, anti-inflammatories, and things to keep her stable while we assessed her recovery. After the fox spent 3 days in ICU at our veterinarian's office, we developed a protocol with our veterinarian as far as medication and treatment for her while she was back here in care. So it was a rough few weeks in the beginning. After any kind of head trauma like that, she had a lot of recovering to do. So we just had a consistent plan of medications, foods that were easy for her to eat and to digest in the beginning, and basically just gave her rest. First days, she really didn't move a lot, and then she began to stand, and then she began to walk, and then she began to run up and down the ramps in the enclosure, which was very exciting for us because we knew that she was regaining those motor skills that are so important for her to have to be released and that she had lost during the accident. During her time in care, we also had 2 other young foxes that were the same age in care that were brought to us as orphans. And so we determined it might be healthy for her and stimulating for her to have some interaction with her own species. At that age, she would have been still in the family litter anyway with siblings, and so we thought that it would be important to be able to provide her with that. So as with any introduction and rehabilitation that we do when we're trying to introduce one animal to another, we take it very slowly. It's always supervised. We do it in kind of baby steps, if you will. And then once it was determined that everybody was going to get along and be happy, they all had their different parts of the enclosure they could go to and retreat if they wanted their space or quiet times. Everyone was getting along great, so we determined that that was going to be a success for them to be together. Moving forward, we hope to continue to grow and develop. Our most recent add-on is a bat and flight enclosure and a bat building. We did receive a grant for that from the National Wildlife Rehabilitators Association to pay for the flight enclosure part of the bat building, and that will be an area where we can just keep our bats. We do have a specific quarantine room in there as well, built in case we get any white-nosed bats. Our bats they're under a lot of threats right now, and we have 4 of our 10 regular species that we have here in Ohio on the endangered list right now. So it's a scary time out there for bats. I think continuing to create species-specific enclosures like that. We want to get out there more in the public and continue to build upon our education and outreach for our community and create special events, fundraisers, all sorts of things just to get our community more involved. That includes getting volunteers out here as well. We've been building upon that, getting volunteers and interns in, and that has helped us out tremendously with animal care as well. So there are a variety of ways that people can donate to Wild at Heart. If you want to donate monetarily, you can write a check. We have PayPal available. We have a donate button on our Facebook page. So those are great ways that you can donate monetarily. However, that's not the only way that you can donate. We need a lot of things here at Wild at Heart. Things like sewing. If you're a great sewer, we always need things like snuggle pouches and blankets and hammocks made. If you're trimming trees, we need those tree branches for our enclosures for enrichment or potentially for browse, depending on the species that we have in. If people are good at woodworking, they can help make our opossum wheels that our opossums and our woodchucks run in. There are just a lot of other ways. If you have extra produce in your garden or just volunteering, coming out and just spending your time helps us tremendously. If you want to volunteer at Wild at Heart, you can stop by and fill out an interest form, a volunteer interest form, and then we can contact you and talk about how you might be a good fit for the organization. So we did keep her over the winter, gave her excellent nutrition, worked with her in stretching out that wing again, providing some physical therapy, and soon she will go out into the flight cage and we will work with her on flying, and at that point she'll be able to be released. The future, hopefully for her, will be release. She has come a very long way. Still have a few things that we need to do with her just to make sure that she is going to entirely fit the protocol for being released. But as of now, things are looking good.